Mankind Divided. What did you think of this?
I thought it was okay. I guess, coming off of Human Revolution, the precursor to this one, I gave that an 8.5. Really liked that game. Thought they kind of nailed that blend of stealth and action and the hacking kind of cyberpunky stuff.
It's almost as if we talked about that game for like 4 hours on this podcast recently. Yeah,
people are probably rolling their eyes like, enough with that game.
Yeah.
But this one picks up 2 years after that, and they kind of picked an ending. Like the end of Human Revolution, you kind of had a say in dictating what happened to the world and all that stuff.
My suicide Jensen is not going to carry forward into Mankind Divided.
No.
Okay.
So they picked an ending. This is canon. This is our path, and the world is really kind of at a tipping point between humans and augs, people that are, augment their bodies. And I guess they call them naturals and augs are the two things.
Nats and augs, got it.
But they kind of hone in on like today's political climate and the state of our society and some hot button issues there, and really kind of use that to kind of frame their world and what's going on. A very police state, a lot of corruption, police making mistakes. You also have terrorists, extremist groups really lashing out, segregation, all that stuff comes into play here. But there's also a story going on. Adam Jensen's story is continuing, and this world is continuing, but it kind of gets muddied along the way with all these different things going on.
Muddied in an interesting way?
No, I think they overthought it. I think they put way too much in it, too many factions, too many acronyms, too many things to follow. I had a notebook of just different things written down. It was kind of funny because we were recording the test chamber, a video we did of the beginning of the game, and Wade Wojcik, who's a big fan of this, was really into it at the beginning, and you can listen to it, and he's like, yeah, and then all of a sudden it starts to get muddy, and he's kind of like, wait, what's happening? Like, who are these guys? And it happens very early in the game where they just overload you. They kind of treat you like a hard drive a little bit, and just data dumps of lore, it's coming in like you wouldn't believe, just shoveling it into your brain.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to digest, and at the same time, it's like the game kind of slows down at that point too, the gameplay, which again picks up on a really interesting note. Jensen's in Dubai. He's on assignment tracking down an arms dealer.
You'll never guess. They're in Dubai, but there's a sandstorm coming, folks.
There is
brand new territory
I've seen
for
that
games.
before.
Yeah.
That does happen. But he's there tracking down an arms dealer in this unfinished high-rise hotel, which is really cool looking. It's stunning. But the mission is great because the design really embraces the stealth out of the gate, and they kind of lead you down this path. Like, you got to be stealthful here. They tell you, like, you can play the game without, like, killing anyone if you want.
You get your choice in the beginning if you want long range, short range, lethal, non-lethal again.
All that stuff, like, again, just Deus Ex at its core, letting you play the game the way you want to. But they do something interesting in this mission where they kind of put a timer on an event. And this event, if you finish it in time or not, is optional. That's a big choice. But by putting the timer on there, I started the game playing it stealthy, slow, methodical, not wanting to kill anyone. And then I felt like right there in that story moment, I had to shift gears and run and gun to reach my objective in time. So I played it through both ways in that instance to see what happened. And I wanted the one where I had to run and do it.
Okay.
So right there, I was like, wow, that is really cool. They just kind of threw me off my game, made me switch gears. I don't know how I'm going to play the game moving forward. But again, as the lore starts getting heaped on you, the missions also just kind of drag out. They don't have a lot of, what would you say, like navigation dynamics that the series has really kind of been about, allowing you to kind of pick your way through these environments. It felt very plain and by the numbers and just picking off pockets of enemies. Yes, I could go into side rooms, but it wasn't necessarily to find new paths. It was just kind of added lore or loot that I could pick up. So I always felt like I was kind of doing these same paths through these environments, and I would even try to change it up, but it all kind of led to the same point. So
at least you've been playing this too. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I mean, I think especially for the Dubai mission, it does feel really linear, but I think that's also because it's supposed to be the tutorial mission, and it's like really, really early on in the game that you do that. But I've played a couple other portions, like the Golem City portion with the Talus Rucker infiltration thing. I played that, and how would you explain that? You go into this extremist group's headquarters, I guess, and you're infiltrating there, and you have to go and take this guy out. Rather like arrest him and bring him with you. And as you're going through there, I found it was really cool that there was like several different approaches
Sure.
to paths to your objective. Like you could go through the vents, or
There's always the vents in Deus Ex.
always
go for
the
the vents.
vents and always the elevators. No, but
lots of vents. The Adventures of Vent Man. It could very well be if you're playing that approach.
Do you have to
But-
be under a certain height to cosplay as Adam Jensen? So you can
But
fit,
like, what was interesting in this level though was there was really a focus on verticality. Like there were several different levels that you could go, and I really enjoyed that level. in
So a
particular.
couple standout missions.
There was a couple, yeah.
Yeah.
I pointed them out in my review. There's a vault mission that's very cool, and then there's like a party where they really kind of play with the dynamics in that one. But I felt a lot of them were just kind of plain Jane, and the AI, holy cow, I don't know what happened there. But it's like if she ducked down,
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't know she was there if you're a
Yeah,
Deus
the
Ex
AI
editor.
isn't the strongest, and it's also not the hardest Deus Ex game out there. Especially considering, I remember the first time I played the original game. Like it took me a long time to just get through that first portion of the game. Like it was tough.
I died hundreds
But-
of times in Human Revolution.
No, and Human Revolution too. Like I mean, I think it's because they really tried to do a balance of action and stealth this time. And don't get me wrong, the action's really fun, but it's just not as tough.
Yeah, the shooting mechanics are much improved, and it just out of the
Yeah,
gate
a
jumping
little.
into this one, it's really fun to go directly from Human Revolution to see like this upgrade and graphics and everything like that.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful game.
Yeah, it's good looking. But it's really nice that they start you out with the key powers, the key practice upgrades from the last game. But I'm wondering if it's going to be overwhelming for people that are starting out, just suddenly be like, I can turn invisible and I can do all these things. And I can bust through a wall and I can throw heavy objects. It's like, it is a lot to start out with,
Oh,
but you
yeah.
have to do it. Otherwise, the way you get accustomed to playing with End of Human Revolution, it would just feel terrible if you got Metroided at the beginning. you
Sure.
know?
But where I saw that, like the missions, I felt like I was kind of doing the same thing. Or you're saying like going through the vents and stuff like that. It all kind of led to the same thing, though. It's like I might skip a room or two, but I never felt like I
I
really
see what you're
had
saying.
a unique path where either way, it was all kind of blended together into this one. And I always just ended up taking the easiest path at that point, just because it's like the enemies just allow that. Like they really just let you kind of breeze through these levels. And then the hub worlds, though, I thought they did a really good job with those. And they're very open. I love that they don't hold your hand to like, they tell you, you got to go reach this guy, this Og guy, right at the beginning of the game. And then they don't tell you how to do it. And you're following the waypoint and there's the guy blocking like, you can't come this way. And you're like, well, how do I get in there?
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time exploring the city, just figuring
What is
that
the
out.
city?
Prague.
Prague is the first one you're in. There's a bunch of different hubs. I won't go into those. There's a lot of surprises.
But that's
and
that's
stuff.
the first one, yeah. And it's not huge, but like there is a lot to do and there's a lot to explore. Like I remember just going on random ledges and stuff and finding an open window, and then suddenly I'd find an apartment and it would have like its own little story to it. You know, like there'd be blood or something and it's like, oh, there was a murder that happened here, and then, you know, reading emails and stuff, and
So
then
many
it's like
emails.
this whole, yeah, of course emails are back. Yeah, it's cool. It's I like the little micro narratives, and there's definitely more of a focus on observational storytelling.
Huh. Yeah, I really loved in Human Revolution, at least, kind of the gray areas of all the spaces where it's like you can have your gun out if you want. You don't really know who's going to be bad. They'll react to you differently. It's
Yeah.
completely up to you. And it's like, it's not that clear delineation like in Uncharted or something where it's like, this is a combat space. This isn't,
Right.
you know?
But there's a lot of side missions. You're talking about the little micro narratives, but there's also these kind of blue missions on the map that are significant side missions, and they're meaty. There's some big stuff going on in those that's kind of fun to follow. I kind of enjoyed some of those more than the main game itself, but they kind of strip away all that freedom at one point in the hub worlds, and that kind of goes into the police state and all that. And the hub worlds at one point become, this is a bit of a spoiler, you got to use stealth to go through them. And I got so bored with that and just kind of like frustrated with that. Like they're small hub worlds, but they're pretty big stealth spaces, right? To be able to sneak behind boxes. It would take forever to get across. I found with his regenerating health, you could just sprint down the streets and guys are just shooting at you. You're just like, nah, don't care. And I was like,
Hog
okay.
lives rule.
I was like, all right, I got to try this like on the harder difficulty too. It's just still, he got through there just a little bit less health. And then they lose track of you so
That's a
fast because
bummer.
they're idiots. And it's just like, you're just standing there like in the middle of the street and you could see them patrolling like up the hill. And it's just like, okay, I'm just going to heal up and I'm on my way.
Do they at least have more than 3 things to say? Like in Human Revolution, the AI was terrible, and also they would have like 3 barks that they just shout again and again and again.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really hear a lot.
Okay.
I mean, there would be big conversations where they'd there'd be two guys standing with each other for a while, and you're just like, okay, when do I spring here? Like one of them's going to turn. Which way are they going to go? And I like the fake outs they do where they go on their patrolling path, and they'll be walking, then they'll kind of turn around, and you're like, okay, and they know they're tricking you in that instance where you leap out as soon as they turn around and then they turn.
Sure.
I like those little fake outs. They do a good job with that kind of stuff, but just the patrolling AI is pretty lousy and it's a game that you can easily exploit. And you don't want to, you want to have that tense stealth experience, but when you could just go, they see you behind one block and you could just go the block over and hide behind that one and they won't explore that one. And they'll just like look at the one block and go, all clear.
Right.
It's like, you're terrible at your job. So it's okay as a whole. Like you said, the combat is fun. The stealth is really fun. I really like the stealth. The story is really dense and meaty. And
isn't that a good thing for some people? Like if you're really into like Human Revolution lore.
I'm really into Deus Ex lore in general.
Okay.
So like for me, so far I'm not having too much trouble like figuring out what's going on, but
you're
I think
still early. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it does get a lot meatier, but
it goes places. There's a lot of shady stuff going on in this world.
Does it connect more to the first Deus Ex?
Well, there are a lot of different groups to keep track of, right? There's like hacktivists called the Juggernaut Collective.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you
Hacktivist is a dumb word. I'm sure it's in Watch Dogs 2 plenty, which we're used to, but
one of your friends from the game, Alex, is from that.
Yeah.
You're from Interpol.
Task Force 29 is
that's yours.
Interpol, right?
There's a bunch.
Boy, that McCready's up to no good.
I don't want to go into too many of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's
a lot of different ones.
Just different organizations floating around. Is it a continuation of a lot of themes that started in Human Revolution? Does it feel like it's a fresh start?
No, it feels like a continuation.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was mention of the Illuminati in Human Revolution, and that's brought up again. And then that's kind of like one of Jensen's main targets is like figuring out what the Illuminati is doing.
Okay. What about Megan? Is she in this? His old ex-girlfriend?
So far, she's brought up. I don't know if I should say more than that.
Okay. She's been vaguely mentioned. Is she a big part of the story, Reiner?
I don't want to bring stuff up. You might see some gold shirts. You might see some stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Gold shirts. Now, one thing I noticed when I came into your office and watched it, the HUD is super busy, like Watch Dogs level busy.
Yeah.
Like, is that distracting? Can you turn some of that off, or do you want to?
No, but you eventually kind of figure it all out, and it just kind of is there when you need it. You're not really paying attention to it.
That's just how Oggs view the world.
Yeah. It's just when you put those shades
you can turn
on.
some of those off, no?
I'm not sure, but it didn't bother me at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a dense game. They mapped the bejesus out of that controller. They used every part of that buffalo. Like it is unbelievable.
There's
so, like,
a lot. Yeah.
It's so much. Like to pull up your inventory, you have to like hold in on the right stick, and then you have to hold in on left to use cover. It's different controls. You can set it to the same controls as Human Revolution, I guess. But
you can, and it's cool. I like the fact that it still kind of switches between first and third person for cover, and then just general, walking around. Because, I don't know, I always liked that. I thought it was a neat touch that you don't see very often.
It's a little bit less janky than the way they did it in Human Revolution. It was just weird jump cuts between first and third before.
Sure, yeah.
But in exploring a lot of those kind of difficult subject matters, I think they did a really good job with that. They're not going to offend anyone. I think they deliver a message. I think they did some decent stuff. Their marketing teams might.
right.
might have a different say in that. But I thought they did a really good job with that. But, when I launched my review, I gave it a 7. I'm on the lower spectrum of a lot of critics. But then I started looking at the reviews, and there's like, The Verge was like, I like it, but I don't understand it. And, I'm like looking at all these reviews, and they're all picking the lore apart. Like, I don't know what's happening. I can't understand. There's just too much going on here. So that seemed like a pretty common complaint throughout.
And you care more about story maybe than other people playing
it?
Well,
it's just like I'm in this game world for so long, and Jensen is just boring the crap out of me. Like he is so dry.
That I can so agree with. Like honestly, I guess I feel like with Deus Ex they've always wanted to. It's supposed to be like an avatar in a way, like you're supposed to have that choice of like how you want to express yourself and stuff. Even with JC Denton and stuff. And then, looking at Adam Jensen, they're trying to do that same kind of thing, but like it's weird because you're not customizing that character at all.
Yeah.
Like Adam Jensen is supposed to be an established character.
Well, who
but
can
he
have a
doesn't
problem with playing the
feel like
coolest guy
one.
on earth?
I would
doesn't
love
feel
to be
like
able
one.
to change his outfits, man. That guy overdresses
He
for
doesn't-
everything.
You actually can customize outfits this time around.
can?
I saw in the menu. It's like, it's not much.
But he's supposed to be an extension of yourself, but he doesn't really feel like one.
Right.
So it kind of feels like, I don't know, like they can't really decide like which spectrum to be on,
Right. They need him for marketing to have like a main figure, but like just cool it on the
Right,
personality
like-
a little bit.
Everyone liked Adam Jensen, so okay, like now everyone knows who he is, yada yada, let's go with him again, but I don't think he's that strong of a character.
Yeah, and I think I overstated it a little in my review as a joke, but I said he makes RoboCop look like the life of the party. And I mean, he really kind of does, because there's times where it's just like he seems so bored. I don't know if it's the voice actor just reading so much lore and just like build up and all this stuff. It just, there's points where you're just like, wait, are you even like trying here at this point? Like, what are you?
He's just numb
This
to the
dialogue
world.
is
It's
so
a little
bad.
commentary
Yeah.
on becoming augmented. He's barely human.
But none of the characters really have any personality. That's another thing I pointed out, is they are all just on the script of like, here's what you need to know about what's going on. You never get any little tidbits from them outside of like a little moment at the beginning where there's an interaction with Alex, where it's very casual. And from there, it's just all business.
So if you love
Mostly
Human
business.
Revolution,
Oh, I'd say play it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty dramatic step down, but if you like that a lot and want to continue that story, I think you should see it through.
Yeah.
Just pay a lot of attention, take notes, try to find, a play style that you can not exploit the enemy so much.
yeah,
And
It's
even-
tough because they struggle. Like they really
they're
have a hard
chugging
time.
along.
I honestly think it's worth it even just for the hub worlds. Like
Yeah.
they're so cool.
They're beautiful.
Like it's so much fun. I spent so much time in Prague, and like that was like a highlight so far. And
What's this I hear about? You can buy Praxis points for real money? That's just like the upgrade abilities?
Yeah, so that's what, he's an AUG, and he has a plot point you find out about is that there was a hidden sector of AUGs in him he didn't know existed. I don't know how that works.
We only use 5% of our brain, Reiner.
But that's just like a whole new like upgrade tree for players. It's not really like this huge plot point.
Wait, but it jumps you out into like the PlayStation or
No.
Xbox
This
Store?
is just something you can do in the game. And I would say after playing the game, do not spend any money on it because you'll get all the points you need, especially if you're being thorough and searching everywhere. But yeah, you can buy in-game stuff. And I think there's a big hubbub right now about the pre-order bonuses that you get items for use in the game, but you can only use them in one playthrough once. And then those items are gone. So it was like a finite thing. It doesn't carry over.
That is a weird pre-order bonus.
It's like
Yeah.
a consumable item?
Yeah, I'm not sure I didn't look up what the items were.
Okay.
But yeah, it's probably Praxis and some other stuff.
Yeah, I saw Steam communities in uproar because the PC version is a little bit janky. Like
Really?
I played it
That's
last night.
weird.
It seemed
I haven't-
fine for me.
PC one is messed up.
yeah.
When
But
does-
this is Deus Ex, for the love of Christ. Like, don't mess
No,
up the
what-
PC
how-
version.
Published by Square Enix, though.
How is that happening?
Yeah,
This
I
is an
just don't-
Ion Storm, and like
It's
the
like old
OGs that
heritage.
were designing games for PC.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the issues are that people are having, but
We're about on a top 10 list of janky ports here pretty soon with
for PC,
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good top 300.
Batman, No
Yeah,
Man's
you
Sky,
could do
Deus.
top 300.
It was getting better for a while there, like the end of last generation. It's like, oh, clearly the place to play, and now for some reason, the last couple of years, it's been rough.